For 10,000 years, every species bowed to one sacred law: conflict must end at the negotiating table. Then came the humans. A species that stared down the most powerful council in the galaxy, and said just 2 words: we decline. The result? Galactic panic, war fleets in motion, and the horrifying realization: Earth never wanted peace. They were just waiting for a reason. The council hall pulsed with artificial serenity, but the air stank of fear. 1,000 delegates filled the vast chamber: feathers, chitin, scales, photonic membranes, and carbon fiber skins, all staring at one man. Ambassador Rafik Mendez stood alone beneath the great halo of judgment. No entourage. No guards. Just a long black coat, and eyes that had seen too much war to pretend he feared another. Vraxi High Warden hissed into the amplifier. You were granted observer status, not carte blanche to annihilate a scientific facility. Your facility, Rafik said, calm as a loaded pistol, was harvesting the nervous systems of abducted human civilians. 13 children under the age of 10. 2 pregnant women. 1 old man who still sang lullabies while you carved his memory apart. You have no proof of this, screeched the Yiltak minister. This is slander. A low beep echoed. Rafik raised a data crystal the size of a tooth. This contains everything. Full spectrum video. Biometric records. Interrogation logs. Autopsies. Cross-referenced against Council archive encryption. The Council chair, a gelatinous arbiter called Volex, pulsed blue with tension. Ambassador, the proper procedure is to submit evidence to the Ethics Tribunal, followed by preliminary negotiation. Earth declines, Rafik interrupted. The silence that followed shattered every spoken rule. No one, hissed the High Warden, declines negotiation. Rafik met him with a gaze that didn't blink. You think because you buried war beneath bureaucracy, it stopped being war. You dress your cruelty in legislation and call it civilization. But you abducted our people, tortured them, weaponized them. And you thought we'd file a motion. You are bound by the Pax Galactica. No. We are bound by our dead. A hum rose through the chamber. Security protocols activated. Weapons not drawn, but readied. The political illusion of safety began to fracture. Volex leaned forward, voice trembling. Earth's refusal places it outside the protection of the Council. You understand the consequences? We counted them, Rafik said. 1 life per file we recovered. 212 lives for 212 crimes. And Zorant 7 no longer exists. Whispers exploded across the room. Zorant 7. The hidden station. Officially unlisted. Officially unoccupied. What do you want? Spat the Vraxi. To remind you, Rafik said. We're not afraid of your outrage. We know what fear really is. We invented it long before you discovered diplomacy. You want war? We want accountability. War was your idea. You just forgot we're better at it. The Elvithi archivist chimed in, voice hollow and almost afraid. But you said nothing. No warnings. No sanctions. You bypassed every protocol. You don't warn a kidnapper to return your children. You take them back. Across the chamber, a projection screen bloomed to life. Footage flickered, black armored soldiers, silent, coordinated, fast. No war cries. Just clinical execution. The lab staff tried to run. Some tried to beg. The soldiers never paused. They burned the data. Recovered the bodies. Then detonated the fusion core. You think that makes you righteous? Asked the Yiltak, visibly shaking. You're not civilized. You're monsters. Rafik nodded once. Yes. The monsters you made. The council chair tried to restore order. This cannot be accepted. An attack on any council site, no matter its legality, is an attack on all members. Earth has violated the Central Compact. Then disband your compact, said Rafik. Or be ready to defend it. Delegates surged to their feet. The room filled with overlapping screams, calls to vote, demands for sanction. But Rafik didn't flinch. He stood motionless amid the chaos, eyes sharp, voice steady. "We sent one ship," he said, quiet but deadly clear. "One squad. And the galaxy lost its mind." The Council's cries dimmed. "That's how afraid you are," he continued. "Not of what we did, but of what it means. You thought Earth would bow. That we'd compromise our dead. That we'd prioritize diplomacy over justice." He took one step forward. "We didn't come here to ask for understanding. We came to show you the cost of thinking you can dissect us like animals." A delegate from the minor planet state of Tor then stood. "You act as if you're a god among primitives. You're still a young species." "We're young," Rafik agreed. "But we're the only species in this room that survived 2 apocalypses, killed its gods, and still found a way to build a planet where you can say what you want and not get disappeared. You're destabilizing the galaxy." "No," Rafik said. "We're cleaning it." The chamber trembled as a secondary feed opened. A transmission from Terran High Command broadcast openly across every system. "This is Earth. We will not negotiate with powers who violate the sanctity of life. Zoran 7 was only the beginning. If your hands are clean, you have nothing to fear. If they aren't, run." A cold wind seemed to pass through the artificial gravity field. The delegates were no longer outraged. They were frightened. The Yiltak leaned in, voice thin. "What gives you the right to dictate morality to the galaxy?" Rafik's face was stone. "Nothing gave us the right. We took it. Because someone had to." Then he turned and walked out of the chamber without another word. No guard stopped him. No species dared move. The silence left behind was louder than the shouting had ever been. Behind him, the Council broke into chaos. On 1,000 worlds, leaders reviewed the transmission. Civilians demanded answers. Border races took to arms. Covert fleets shifted positions. One phrase echoed across news feeds and military briefings alike: "Earth declines to negotiate." And somewhere in the dark between stars, 7 stealth cruisers known as the Black Dagger Fleet entered silent orbit around 3 Council military planets. Not to invade. Not to threaten. To observe. To remember. And, when needed, to erase. The age of appeasement was over. And the galaxy had no idea what it had awakened. The first Council fleet entered the Lyri expanse 12 hours after Earth's refusal. 12,000 ships. Hundreds of capital vessels. They thought it would be a show of force, a symbolic gesture to pressure compliance. Earth responded by sending no fleet at all. No warning. No formation. No reply. At 3:17 Galactic Standard Time, 72 ships in the forward vanguard lost power. Communications blacked out. Engines went cold. Emergency backups triggered without response. Within 9 minutes, the entire first wave was dead in space. No casualties. No visible weapons. Just silence. Fleet Admiral Kuroth of the Kovathi screamed for answers as his flagship began rotating aimlessly. "This is an act of war. Find the source. Deploy drones. Power cycles, now." No answer. Then a single signal pinged the fleet's command channel. "We see you. Stand down." No signature. No encryption type. It wasn't a challenge, it was a verdict. On the edge of known space, cloaked in gravitic fog, the Black Dagger fleet completed its operation without revealing a hull. 17 Terran vessels. Each one a ghost. Each carrying the name of a city the Council had never heard, but would never forget. On Lyri Station, Council Command fumed. "We must retaliate," demanded the Yiltak diplomat. "They're disabling our fleets without firing a shot." "They haven't harmed a single life," corrected the Elvathi. "They've humiliated us." "That's worse." The chair flickered in indecision. "Initiate Article 9. Remove their observer status. Sever all channels." The vote was unanimous, until the Tor then delegate hesitated. "We were approached last night," he said softly. "They sent us data. Evidence of Council black sites operating on our moons. Labs we didn't authorize. With our own crests forged onto their walls. A hush. Then murmurs. We verified it. He added. They weren't lying. Earth is waging information warfare. The Vraxi barked. No, said the Torthan delegate. They're telling the truth louder than we're used to hearing. That same hour, 43 other minor species received similar evidence drops. Old secrets. Hidden crimes. Betrayals buried under centuries of bureaucracy. Within 2 days, 7 star systems announced secession from the Council. The panic wasn't from Earth's strength. It was from their precision. Back in Earth's strategic command, General Elena Cho observed the spread from behind a wall of real-time holofeeds. She watched as the Council flailed, trying to regain narrative control. Status of Operation Mirror Breaker? She asked. Her aide, Lieutenant Kwan, responded without looking up. Phase 2 complete. No casualties. We've disabled 2/3 of the Kovathi's deep fleet. Phase 3 activates at 0900 unless countermanded. Hold Phase 3. Ma'am? They're not ready to be punched again. Let them feel the bruise a bit longer. In the void, the Council's military arm attempted a countermeasure. They mobilized 3 strike forces toward the Soul Gate relay. Their goal, a blockade. When the strike fleet arrived, they found the relay disabled. Not destroyed. Not damaged. Simply gone. In its place was a relic. A floating steel monolith from Earth's early space age. No weapons. No power. Just a rotating message carved into its hull. We left this behind when we were children. You haven't earned what came after. Admiral Kuroth snapped. I want Earth's location. Now! They've vanished from the star charts. Impossible. They're not gone, muttered one comms officer. They're just hiding in a place we never thought to look. From deep subspace, the planet now known as New Terra watched the unfolding storm. Earth had folded itself into a mobile planetary engine, a feat the Council hadn't even imagined possible. It wasn't running. It was stalking. Ambassador Rafik returned to broadcast one final address. He didn't dress for war. No armor. No ceremony. Just a voice, clear and sharp, piped into every system still linked to the Council net. You stole from us. You silenced worlds we never knew existed. You created weapons that couldn't be traced, diseases that couldn't be named. And you buried it all beneath law and logos. He paused. We dug it up. His voice hardened. You called us primitive. Violent. Impatient. You were right. We are. But we remember everything. And we don't forget who drew first blood. Volex attempted a reply. There are still paths to resolution. There's no resolution, Rafik said. Only reckoning. In orbit over the Torken moons, a fleet of biomechanical warships appeared without fanfare. Not human. Not Council. Species long thought extinct, wiped out in Council purges, returned in ships grown from metal and memory, pulsing with neural light. Earth hadn't just retaliated. They had resurrected the fallen. And now, the Council was surrounded by its ghosts. One final ping struck every Council terminal. No virus. No threat. Just a question. Are you afraid of the dark yet? Some chose defiance. Others chose denial. But most chose silence. Because fear had no countermeasure. And Earth had weaponized it with surgical grace. The war hadn't officially begun. No declarations had been signed. No bombs had fallen on cities. But it was already over. And the galaxy understood one terrible truth: the species that refused to negotiate was the one that had already won. The Council's emergency session lasted 22 hours. Delegates barked over one another, species that hadn't spoken in decades suddenly shouting across the chamber. Old alliances fractured like glass. Some called for a mass retaliation. Others demanded negotiations. The chair said nothing. Volex watched the room dissolve into chaos, its gelatinous form pulsing with visible stress. When silence finally returned, it wasn't through reason. It was through fear. A single ship, blacker than void, decloaked above the Council spire. No weapons activated. No transmission sent. Just presence. The Black Dagger fleet had never revealed itself before. It didn't need to. This time, it made an exception. The spire's defense grid powered up automatically. Turrets turned, shields flared. Volex issued a soft command. Stand down. If they wanted us gone, we wouldn't be here to talk about it. And still, Earth said nothing. In orbit, Captain Idris Vale stood on the command deck of the Solstice Warden. He watched the Council scramble through feed relays and didn't blink once. They know, said his lieutenant. They're panicking. They should, Idris replied. That's the point. Back in the chamber, the Torthen delegation made a proposal. Open a line of communication with Earth. Request terms. Admit fault. Absolutely not, snarled the Vraxi Warden. They defied the compact. They struck first. We cannot reward disobedience with dialogue. They didn't strike first, the Torthen replied calmly. They struck last. The difference matters, the Iltak shouted. Then we dissolve the Council and let every species fend for itself? A long silence followed. Volex finally spoke. Perhaps that's exactly what they're offering. No one moved. No one argued. And from deep space, Earth finally answered. The message was short. Plain text. No images. No voice. We gave you the tools to coexist. You turned them into instruments of silence. You hid your horrors in the folds of diplomacy and called it order. But justice is not order. It is consequence. On the outer rim of Jewel Prime, 3 Council black sites lit up in flames, precisely 20 seconds apart. No signatures, no survivors, no collateral damage. Surgical. Inescapable. Council Command demanded a response. They received a second message. We will not wage your kind of war. We will wage ours. The spire buzzed with encrypted messages as the room fell into political paralysis. They expected Earth to play by old rules. They hadn't understood. Earth had written its own. Rafik Mendez returned to the Council feed. Alone. No guards. No background. Just a man. Zoran 7 was a message, he said. But you ignored the ink. You leave us no choice. Volex replied, its voice more resignation than defiance. We either fight or yield. And we are not built to yield. Then you are not built to survive. You threaten the stability of the known galaxy. No, Rafik said. We threaten your illusion of control. The Elvathi, quiet until now, stood. Their representative bowed his head. We have reviewed the evidence Earth provided. It is authentic. We confirm Council crimes were committed against humans, and others. Traitor! The Iltak hissed. No, the Elvathi said quietly. Just late to open our eyes. From 17 different sectors, defections began. Not mass revolts, not declarations, just quiet withdrawals. Trade ceased. Diplomatic nodes shut down. Council archives went dark as entire species pulled their presence offline. Meanwhile, Earth made no demands. No ultimatums. They simply waited. On the bridge of the Solstice Warden, Captain Idris spoke softly. They're unraveling faster than projected. Should we escalate? No, he said. We didn't start this war to win it. We started it to end theirs. Across the void, small rebellions lit up. A minor race known only as the Varen threw their planetary governor out of orbit, literally, and declared independence. They cited Earth's messages as inspiration. For the first time in 1,000 cycles, hope didn't come from diplomacy. It came from fire. And yet, Earth remained silent. Observing. The Council scrambled to regain control. Their last gambit, reveal Project Emberlight, an experimental AI fleet designed to respond instantly to hostile threats with overwhelming force. They activated it. It never launched. Its control center was already gone. A final message arrived from Earth. We didn't come to negotiate. We came to bury a system that mistook silence for peace. And if that system rises again, we will return. Not as soldiers. As consequence. The spire dimmed. Delegates stood in stunned silence. And somewhere, out in the black, humanity watched the stars realign, without ever having fired a single missile at a civilian target. The war was over. It had ended before it ever began. The message from Earth spread faster than Council sensors could contain. 17 languages, 200 dialects, the same meaning. We are not asking. We are remembering. On the outer rim, 22 minor systems withdrew from the compact. Quietly. No ceremony. They powered down their transponders and erased their emblems from diplomatic databases. Their absence left a silence more deafening than war drums. Volex tried to project calm. Every address began with the phrase, "We remain unified." But fewer and fewer voices echoed it. The Council's authority, once absolute, was now a suggestion. Admiral Kuroth of the Kovathi barked for retaliation. His fleets, though bruised, were intact. His instinct was domination. He didn't understand restraint. His speech was broadcast live to all systems. They do not respect strength because we have not shown it. We must strike Earth directly. We must burn something they love. His own officers leaked the clip. Within hours, protests ignited on 9 worlds. Kuroth was arrested by his own command staff and quietly removed from the war desk. In his place, the Council appointed someone younger. Someone pliable. But it was too late. The next move wasn't Earth's. It was the Vornik, a race that had been conquered centuries ago, genetically sterilized to prevent rebellion. Earth had restored their line, cloned them back from extinction, and armed them. They didn't declare war. They took back a system. The Vornik sent a single message to the Council: this was never yours. The broadcast showed their old temples lit with flame and defiance. Children danced in circles beneath the banner of their ancestors. No Earth ships in sight. No Terran soldiers giving orders. Volex addressed the Council with feigned composure. This proves our point. Humanity destabilizes the fragile equilibrium we've built. They resurrect wars better left buried. Rafik appeared without introduction. He spoke directly, not to the Council, but to the people watching. You call it stability. We call it silence. You called them extinct. We call them family. The Council tried to cut the feed. It jumped to backup channels. Civilian broadcasts. Pirate relays. Encrypted loops from sympathetic systems. You couldn't censor what had already become a movement. Humanity wasn't leading a war. They were lighting beacons. Captain Idris received a private transmission. A single word: proceed. He opened the comms. To all Black Dagger units, engage Operation Cathedra. Non-lethal strikes only. Show them what it means to lose without dying. Across 14 sectors, Council command stations lost power. Archive nodes self-erased. AI surveillance systems flickered into static. No casualties. No violence. Just erasure. The Spire's outer defenses failed. Not because they were attacked, but because their backups had been quietly subverted weeks earlier. Rafik appeared one last time. You built a galaxy on the premise that silence equals peace. That fear of war is peace. That not being shot is peace. You forgot that peace isn't the absence of war. It's the presence of justice. And you removed that long ago. Volex's voice cracked. What do you want, human? We already took it, Rafik answered. The right to be heard. Volex recoiled. Then this is revenge. No, he said. This is correction. The Elvathi rose. We propose dissolution of the current council. In its place, a rotating forum. Transparent. Decentralized. All species equal, regardless of military or economic power. There was no vote. Just a pause. Then systems began powering down council signatures voluntarily. Some cried. Some cheered. Some remained silent, ashamed they hadn't spoken sooner. Volex slumped, visibly diminished. And Earth? We're not joining, Rafik said. We don't want to sit at your table. We just want to make sure the food isn't poisoned. The new forum formed without ceremony. The spire was vacated. Its halls, once echoing with controlled declarations, now stood quiet, repurposed as a neutral archive. Human ships left orbit without fanfare. No fleets escorted them. No flags lowered. They had no anthem. Just the silence of a mission completed. Captain Idris looked at the stars as his vessel banked toward fold space. Do you think they'll remember? His lieutenant asked. They will, he said. Because next time, we won't warn them. On a dozen worlds, murals appeared of Terran agents in shadow, helping alien hands rise from the rubble. The message scrawled beneath them read simply, "We came not to rule, but to remind." The stars looked different now. Not because they had changed, but because the silence between them meant something. The galaxy, once organized by threats and trade, moved quieter, more cautious. Systems that had bowed to hierarchy now spoke with unfamiliar confidence. Fear hadn't vanished, it had simply shifted direction. Inside the abandoned chamber of the former council spire, a delegation gathered. Not to restore power, but to decide how not to repeat the mistake. They didn't sit in the ancient high seats. Those remained empty. Dust settled on symbols no longer respected. The new delegates stood in a circle, no elevations, no primacy. The Elvathy speaker stepped forward. We are not here to form another empire. We are here to remember how one fell. No one applauded. Agreement didn't need noise anymore. On the edge of the Endrian Veil, Captain Idris Vale monitored a dead signal. It used to be the primary relay for council directives. Now it looped empty static. He didn't smile. Satisfaction wasn't the goal. Proof of restraint was. The Black Dagger fleet had returned to shadow, not disbanded, but dormant. Their job wasn't conquest. It was memory. Idris turned to his comms officer. Status of liberated systems? 14 requested mentorship programs. 6 are requesting defensive consultation. The rest just want to be left alone. Good, he said. That's what freedom sounds like. On the far side of the galaxy, a small moon celebrated its first day of self-rule in over 300 years. A child painted Earth's flag beside their own, not as a replacement, but as a memory. The humans didn't attend the ceremony. They didn't broadcast messages. They didn't demand gratitude. That silence became legend. Rafik Mendez returned to Earth. The real one. Hidden still. It hadn't moved. It hadn't fired. It hadn't even responded to threats. That was the point. Humanity's power wasn't in its weapons. It was in its refusal to need them until the very last moment. He gave one interview. It was transmitted once, then archived permanently. We weren't the first to be violated. We were just the first to say no loud enough. The interviewer leaned forward. Was it worth it? The threat? The war? It wasn't a war, Rafik said. It was a diagnosis. But the council collapsed. No. The illusion did. The council was never real. It was a mask. We didn't break it. We just made them look in a mirror. Reports came in of former council species debating self-reform. Some failed. Some fractured. But no one asked Earth to intervene again. That was the success. They had proven their point not by staying, but by leaving. On a world once known for black site experiments, a new university opened. Its first course was history. Its first lesson, how silence is never neutral. Captain Idris received one final encrypted transmission. It contained coordinates. A single sentence followed, last unknown station. Your discretion. He stared at the data for a long time. No orders followed. No instructions from high command. Just trust. Earth had evolved beyond control. That, too, was intentional. He dispatched a team with one instruction: document, don't detonate. The station was empty, abandoned for years. Files left behind spoke of failed experiments, aborted programs, vanished names. The team uploaded the archive to public record. No edits. No denials. The truth wasn't weaponized. It was released. The galaxy didn't erupt. It exhaled. Months passed. A cycle turned. And in time, the phrase itself faded from transmission relays. Earth declines to negotiate. Because no one asked anymore. They remembered. Not out of fear. But respect. Not because Earth demanded it. But because they earned it. And somewhere deep in the void, where forgotten signals wandered between stars, a human voice echoed once, recorded, not spoken. We were never the monsters. We were just tired of pretending monsters deserved a seat at the table. And after that, nothing. Because nothing more needed to be said.